Welcome back to the Graham Stephan Show. So I want to comment on the money habits that are keeping you poor because this video was posted a few months ago and it's racked up 6.5 million views because it's really struck a nerve in people on why they don't have millions of dollars. So with that said, I'll link to our channel down below in the description, and now I want to comment on this. Just watch.
So in this video, I'm going to share with you 9 of the most common bad money habits that hold people back and tips on how to break out of them.
I feel like a lot of it though is just common sense. Don't spend money you don't have and live below your means. If you just did those two things, the two simple things, I guarantee you're going to be way past most people when it comes to personal finances. You're going to have more money, you'll have less stress. Just do it. Just automatically take the money that you're making and pretend you make less. And then don't spend money on credit cards when you don't have it to pay off in full. If at all possible, okay? That's it.
Take 10% minimum and put that into your savings account the minute you get paid. Treat it like paying a bill. This is so important, and by doing this, you're guaranteeing that that money will be saved and won't just slip through your fingers through spending.
I totally agree with that. I think, even though I don't necessarily practice that myself, my default is always to save. Just save as much money as possible, preferably don't spend it, and then everything else gets invested. But I think when people get up in the day-to-day, they're not really paying attention to it. They're going to see whatever balance is in their checking or savings account and just assume that's how much they have to spend. When in reality, you spend it all on frivolous, random things you don't even think about sometimes. And it could be the little day-to-day things, $3 here, $4 there, and it adds up by the end of the month. And then all of a sudden you have nothing left over for yourself. So if all of a sudden every paycheck you just take 10 to 20%, 10 to 15%, just something, put it away. That's your emergency fund, so you're not going to touch it. I have a feeling if people just did that, you're going to get used to living on less money, you're going to save the difference, and you're going to be way further ahead.
Debt these days is actually the norm. People are using debt to buy the smallest of things, to buy presents, to buy clothes. I have a straight rule. That is, unless I can afford to pay for that thing outright in cash, I shouldn't be buying it with any form of debt.
Of course. I mean, again, this is just common sense stuff here. But I get it. If you have an auto repair, okay, your car breaks down, it's going to be $800. You don't have it, but you need your car to get to work, otherwise you're going to lose your job. Put it on the credit card, okay? Doing that, the interest that you pay on that credit card is going to be way less than what it would cost to lose a job because you can't show up to work on time, okay? So it's like, yeah, it's not ideal, but it's way better than the alternative. But for anything else that isn't 100% required to live, don't put the money on the credit card unless you pay it off in full. For a lot of people, that might be spending money on a debit card. As much as I don't like doing that, put it on a debit card if that keeps you on track from going into debt. And I feel like debt, unfortunately, these days is normalized. It's like,
oh, my debt's not that bad because everyone is in debt. I'm not as bad as Jim Bob over there who's in $100,000 in debt because I only got 50. So, my thing is pretty good.
It's just like when you compare yourselves to other people who are doing worse than you, of course, you're going to look like a saint, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So ideally, yeah, she's correct.
Number 3 is not having a stockpile. This ties into point number 1, which is about paying yourself first. And essentially, it's saving enough so that you have a buffer behind you of about 3 to 6 months. This is super important and it will give you peace of mind just by having this buffer.
Again, I totally agree with that. Dave Ramsey has the method of just saving your first $1,000, okay? That's an amount that most people would be able to achieve. You could do that in a shorter period of time. It doesn't have to be 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Just save $1,000. That is enough mentally to get you started. It's enough to pay all the little miscellaneous things if an emergency comes up, but it just gets you on the right path. It points you in the right direction where if you could save 1,000, you could save 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. It keeps expanding from there, and pretty soon you have 6 months worth of your expenses saved up.
There's something called lifestyle inflation, and that is your spending will rise as your income rises. The more money you make, the more you spend. And it's a cycle. Make more money, buy a bigger house, buy a nicer car, spend more, make more. And it's crazy how normal this is.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, once you get used to something, it's very hard to go down from that thing. Have you ever noticed, you go out to eat at a really nice restaurant, okay? The best food. It's hard to go the next day and just eat a cold turkey sandwich that's been left in the fridge. Your palate will go up. The cars that you drive go up over the time. The house that you live in, all of a sudden, the house that you thought was massive when you moved in is too small small. You need something bigger and a nicer. You always want to feel like you're leveling up in life. So if you level up too fast to a point where you can't afford it and you can't sustain that, it's dangerous. So ideally, like me mentally, I always live as though I were 5 years younger. So I live as though I was making 5 years ago income. You know, I know not everyone could do that, okay? But I just pretend what I made 5 years ago is kind of what I could budget with today. And that's worked pretty well for me so far. And it helps me save a lot of money. And then eventually you just live off of, whatever your investments could sustain at some point in the future. That's the goal.
Advertising companies work to drive consumerism. They understand how to play on the psychology or fear of missing out really well. Rein in those expensive pastime hobbies and replace them with other hobbies. If you want to spend loads of money on something, let that be towards skills or experiences or education.
I totally agree. And here's the funny thing, okay? The more money that I get, the less I want to spend it and the less desire I have for things. It's so weird. Now, all I want to do is get rid of stuff. I just don't want them anymore. I don't care what I wear. I don't care about buying anything anymore. I was fine driving this, I got a $1,000 2006 Volvo S60, and it has like 130,000 miles on it. I prefer driving that car, to be honest. You know why? I don't have to worry about it. I could park it wherever it gets dinged. I don't care. No stress whatsoever. I don't buy anything anymore. It's just like everything is now clutter. When you have nothing to prove anymore, you're free, okay? So just go at it from that mindset. You got nothing to prove unless you work in sales, okay? Then a good image, I think, goes a long way. But beyond that, for yourself personally, you don't need anything. Find a good free hobby. Get into something where you could build a nice community from it. Go and meet people. You get way more enjoyment from the aspect of like being involved in something than you will from ever spending money on something.
You have to think of both sides of the equation, both how you will save a larger percentage of your income, but also how you will make more money. Saving money side has a cap. The making money side does not. You want to break the bad money habit of thinking that saving money is going to massively increase your wealth.
So here's the thing. Here's my thought. The easiest thing that you could begin doing right now to have more money left over is to save it. Because saved money is guaranteed money. It's in your pocket. You don't spend that $10. That $10 is yours. You don't go out to eat one night. You just save that money. That money is back in your bank account where it belongs. But yeah, you can't save yourself $1 million tomorrow, so what do? Then you make more money. So I always recommend saving until you can't save anymore. You get the bare minimum, and then you work on increasing your income, and then you save the difference. So that way you start saving way more money, your expenses stay the exact same, and eventually you're gonna make bank.
One of the best ways to increase your wealth is through understanding tax rules in a way that stack up in your favor. For example, investing through an ISA or a Roth IRA, which is an investment account that shelters your dividend and profit from taxes.
I totally agree. Again, if you're here in the United States, go and look into what's called a Roth IRA. Anybody could go and open it up, contribute $6,000 a year to it, or however much you're able to, and all the profit you make within the account is completely tax-free by the age of 59 and a half. It's one of my favorite accounts of all time. So many people should be using it. It's one of the best things for young people to do when they're not in a really high tax bracket right now. There's so much upside to that. You could also look into an HSA if you're self-employed. You could look into a 401k if you have matching with your employer. There's so many things that you could do. And also just keep in mind that your biggest expense probably besides housing is your taxes. Taxes make up such a big part of where your money goes. So understand how that works. Just the basics of it. Get a good accountant. Whatever you pay in that, chances are you're going to make it back. So take it seriously.
Number 8, waiting too long to invest. When you start having savings, you have that stockpile, that buffer that we spoke about. Then you want to start looking at investing that money, and you want to diversify those investments so you can weather different situations that come around in life.
Yeah, again, everything she's saying is correct. And for me, I like to think of just like a good broad index fund, okay? You could basically take a big basket of stocks that cover the entire world and just keep it simple. You don't need to buy individual stocks. If you want to, by all means, but just know the track record for buying individual stocks is pretty bad. Over 20 years, it's unlikely you're gonna outperform the overall market. So I just kind of think, if you wanna have fun, play around with it, by all means. Go have a great time. But I think keeping your core to a diversified group of index funds, it's hard to beat, okay? So keep that in mind.
And the 9th bad money habit is not caring about finances. If you don't care about something, you're not going to do your best at it. I hear people say there are so much more important things in life than money. And yes, of course there are, but life is also largely dictated by finances. So you might as well master this.
Again, she's completely correct. Everything she said here is true. I would take it very seriously. And it's not too late. I think a lot of people have this idea like,
Oh, I'm already in debt. It's already bad. I'm going to wait. I'm going to do it later.
start it now. It's easy. It's so easy. Go and make yourself an account at Mint.com, Rocket Money. Like, they're not sponsoring any of this. They're just good accounts. Track your spending. Cut back, see where you could save your money, then optimize it. Then see how you could make more money, save the difference, look into a Roth IRA. Start looking into and researching index funds that could work for you. The options are limitless. The sooner you start, the more money you're going to end up making in the long term. And to help you get started on that, our paid sponsor, Public.com, will be giving you a free stock worth all the way up to $1,000 when you use the link down below in the description with the code GRAHAM when you make a deposit. Enjoy. Thank you so much. Let me know which free stock you get, and until next time.